All right, back of another mock draft. This is a two-person mock draft as Mel Kiper and Todd McShay made a mock draft that is on currently on ESPN.com. So let's check out the Mel Kiper and Todd McShay mock draft, and I'm going to give my reaction to it. So first things first, just the way it works is Mel Kiper picked the odds and Todd McShay picked the evens. It's a 3-round mock draft. I'm just going to go over the first round. So yeah, let's just get into it. Bryce Young and then CJ Stroud. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. This is kind of what everyone's expecting. Not too much to talk about here. Then we have, again, where the draft kind of starts, but still, this is what a lot of people are expecting. Will Anderson goes at 3 because he's a great talent who doesn't have the off-the-field issues that Carter does. And then, the Indianapolis Colts going after Anthony Richardson at 4. Definitely something I could see happening. And I think something that if I had to make a prediction on how the first 4 will go, this would be my prediction. Going on to 5, Jalen Carter, who, again, it's just questionable of who's going to be the first to pull the trigger on Jalen Carter. But if Seattle did it, I would totally get it. He's probably the best player in this draft class who doesn't play quarterback. Again, it's the off-the-field stuff with him. Going on to 6, Tyree Wilson. Okay, Tyree Wilson, this would be a reach for me. You guys know how I feel about Tyree Wilson. I get that he has the athleticism. And listen, the NFL loves their athletic edge rushers. And when they hit, it is awesome. They just don't hit as much as people realize. And for a team that, again, I'm not going to say what I don't need in edge because whatever. You're drafting, with the 6th overall pick, just get a good player. I think that's fine. To me, though, I just don't love Tyree Wilson in this spot. I think this is an overvalue of Tyree Wilson. But again, I'm just not a huge Tyree Wilson fan. Moving on to the next team, the Raiders, who could go Will Levis here, decide not to. Devin Witherspoon is their guy. So totally get it. Totally think that this is something that could potentially happen. I think he's my number 1 corner on the board. So yeah, I think the Raiders would feel great about a selection like this. And then Christian Gonzalez going at pick number 8, another one that makes a lot of sense. It is a very important, it's position of need, or not a position of need. It's a premium position. The cornerback position is, in my opinion. Now, the question, of course, is do you need it? Because you have AJ Terrell, you have Casey Hayward, but Hayward's not getting any younger, and you're building for the future. Try to get another young stud corner. If they could hit on him and have AJ Terrell and Christian Gonzalez for the next decade plus, you'd feel pretty good about that. Number 9, Bears, Peter Skoronski, who seems like this is where every mock draft is putting him. Totally makes sense. And then, okay, let's do it. Bijan Robinson goes at number 10 to the Philadelphia Eagles, which, and this is, Todd McShay, who, again, Mel Kiper was the kind of the forefather of the don't draft running backs in the first round type of guy. I don't know. To me, he's not, I don't have him as this elite running back prospect the way some other people do. I think he's really good. I think that it totally makes sense that given the way the NFL values running backs, that he should go in the first round, but the NFL overvalues running backs, and so he shouldn't go in the first round. That's just the reality of the situation, is that the value he brings is just nowhere near, let's see who, next person. Okay, Will Levis, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba. There's no way that Robinson is going to add more value to the Eagles than Jackson Smith and Jigba. And that's just the next player who isn't a quarterback who I picked across the board. That's the reality of the situation. He's exciting. He'd make them fun, certainly sell some tickets, sell some jerseys, but that's just not, I think, what the Eagles should do with pick number 10. If there is a team who should do it, you could argue it should be the Eagles. That would be a perfect fit, but I don't think a team should do it. Number 11, this is interesting. Titans going with Will Levis. This would be a move off of Ryan Tannehill. This would be something where, hey, Tannehill's still there for at least another season. And the other nice thing about Tannehill's contract as it stands right now, while the $36 million cap hit is certainly a bit tough for this season, it's over after this, basically. There's going to be a little bit of money that's been pushed down the road. You're looking at about $4 million for each of the next 2 years. But basically, the idea is Will Levis sits behind Tannehill, learns, and then next year you get 3 years of a rookie deal plus a 5th-year option, which isn't that cheap anymore. But still, if you believe in Will Levis, pick 11, wouldn't hate it. Not a terrible idea because, there could be some real value in the Titans being able to, if they can get a Ryan Tannehill level player, but getting him, a little bit lower, that would definitely work. Number 12, the Houston Texans going with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Totally, totally get it. Help out Bryce Young. Yep, big fan of this one. And again, is he my number one wide receiver on the board? He isn't. Is he my number two wide receiver on the board? Yes. And so I really like him, and getting him at 12 to help out your young quarterback, I'm a fan of. The Jets going with Broderick Jones. It feels like every mock draft is always going to have a tackle going at 13 to the Jets, which makes sense to me. They want a tackle for to help out Aaron Rodgers, similar to how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did with Tom Brady when they added him. They needed a tackle and made sure that they got one by trading up one pick, actually, to make sure that happened. Patriots, they're going to tackle here, which isn't something I've seen a ton, which is weird because it would make a ton of sense. Like if Paris Johnson Jr. is there, sure, yeah, I get it. Definitely makes some sense to me. Moved a little bit further down. So a couple picks here. The Packers going Dalton Kincaid, which I totally get. Help out. You need pass catchers. You need to help out Jordan Love now. So he's someone who can do that. Definitely a fan of this. And then, although it would be funny if they drafted a wide receiver in the first round immediately after Rodgers leaves. That's just the thing that I want that to happen. That would just be great. Washington going after Darnell Wright. I've said this in all my mock draft reactions. They should have a board and say who is highest on our board. And whoever is highest on the board when they're drafting, just get that guy. Don't worry about need, which is really what most teams should do. But especially for Washington, that's what they should do, because I think that they're weird where they don't have a ton of like pressing needs outside of quarterback, which they're just not getting a good quarterback at this point. They also don't have a ton of pressing like flaws. Might be not the worst idea in the world to trade to the back half of the first round, trade maybe 10 spots back, and then get like a Hendon Hooker, and then get some extra draft capital. But if they're staying here, Darnell Wright, sure, fine. Zay Flowers to the Steelers. This is interesting. Have not seen this mock. Pretty much everyone is going offensive lineman, but there's already been some O-linemen taken. And sure, why not? I mean, they could use an extra receiver. Absolutely, they could. They have some good players, but again, you can still add to that. You have 3 starters at the receiver position, so he would be a starter day one. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. Clyde Chikansky to the Lions, would love that. I think that could be a great fit for them, and could really help them out. Him next to Hutchinson, that's tough to block. That's tough to pass block. Would not want that to happen. There's some questions in the running game, but I would not hate that. Lucas Van Ness to the Buccaneers, feels like it's going to happen. This just feels like he's such a Buccaneer pick of this great athlete. That's such a Todd Bowles kind of style of guy, who can, hopefully be a good run defender and good pass rusher. There's some concerns I have with Lucas Van Ness, but, if he's wearing a Buccaneers uniform, I'll root for him as a Tampa Bay fan. I'm not, as what it looks like. Well, Kuiper says that he's outside of his own top 25. Lucas Van Ness is, so I agree with Kuiper in this scenario. But NFL teams reach for edge rushers, and we haven't had one in a while. That's true. That's absolutely true. So I totally get the logic from Mel Kiper there. Number 20, the Seattle Seahawks going Nolan Smith. Yeah, totally get this. This would be, I think, a fit that would work. I understand that completely. Chargers going after Jordan Addison, another one. Totally get it. I mean, all these picks right now, I gotta say, mock draft doing a good job. All these make sense to me right now. Even if they're not what I would do, they make sense. I think the Chargers would love a third option. Come on, Chargers, get a third option. Finally, get your third option. You need that. Make it happen. I've been pounding the table for years now, and I never do. Probably won't this year either. Ravens, Emmanuel Forbes would love this pick. I saw this on another mock draft. Totally a great pick. He would going to the cornerback factory of getting this, elite, talented guy, and hopefully you can turn him and get him to reach his potential. Absolutely a fan, definitely. Moving on to number 23, we have the Vikings going after Joey Porter Jr. So again, another guy who some people are a lot higher on Joey Porter. To me, this is a round where I would feel comfortable picking him. Definitely a position of need. Should the Vikings be picking solely based on need? No, but if there's a player you like a lot and fills a need, well, why not draft him? The Jaguars, Michael Mayer, who, as they mentioned in the article, they have franchise tagged Ingram, but that's still just 1 year. And you can play 2 different tight ends. And, Ingram and Mayer, I think, could do some different things for them as well. So, I would not hate this whatsoever. You let Ingram walk after the season, or maybe even trade him after you make this selection. There's things you can do. The Giants here would go after Deontay Banks. Again, another team that should be thinking best player available, should not be thinking need, but he is someone who I think could help out a lot. Giants have a lot of holes, but he's someone who could help fill one of those holes. Quentin Johnson to the Cowboys. This would be interesting. And it looks like Todd McShay says feels a little early for Johnson. Interesting. Again, some people are really low on Quentin Johnson. I am not. If you've seen me talk about him, I think he's the best wide receiver in this draft class. So to me, this would be a great fit. Again, depends on how you feel about Quentin Johnson, but yeah, I really like him, so I would be fine with it. Okay, a bit of a reach. Trenton Simpson here, an interior linebacker. Off-ball linebacker would be the way to I would phrase it. Yeah, I don't know. I get it. They need a replacement for Tremaine Edmonds, but I just don't. This feels like a reach to fill a need, which you shouldn't do. You just shouldn't do because you're getting a worse player than if you drafted again. Who's next on the list? Okay, Julian Brents. So maybe that's not. That one feels like a bit of a reach for me. But Brian Bresee. Bressie, still don't know how to say that. I should know, but at this point, I'm not learning. I'm making conscious effort not to learn. It feels like he is someone who, he would maybe it's not a more pressing need, but I think they could use him and he would probably add more value. So just as the next player that I like on the board, I'd rather do that. And I'm just not a Trenton Simpson guy though, so maybe that's it. Julius Brents, another guy who I'm not crazy about, but okay, fine. We'll see how it works. They could use a corner, so definitely fills a need. And I don't hate Brents or anything, just feels like a bit of a reach for me. Brian Bresee, who I already mentioned, should have gone a little earlier. Definitely feels like someone who could help out the Saints a lot. That could be a good move for them. And then Miles Murphy. The Eagles love their defensive linemen. I get it. I could see them drafting another one in the first round. And around here is where I actually think Miles Murphy should go. This feels about right for me. Finally, 31, Will McDonald, another guy who some people are a lot higher on him than I am. But again, helping out the edge rusher position. A lot of people are predicting an edge rusher to go 31. I could see it. So yeah, good mock draft, I would say. A couple of picks I just hated, quite frankly. But, again, that's going to happen with a mock draft, right? I mean, it's not my opinion. It's their opinion. So those are their opinions. And also, when you're doing a two-person mock draft, it makes it even more difficult because things are, some of your guys go off the board early, or some of your guys stay on the board longer, and you get forced making picks you don't really want to make, which just makes things interesting. So, yeah, fun mock draft. I definitely could see a lot of that happening. And again, it's just interesting as who knows how the draft is actually going to go, but this is one way it could go. So, yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.